Hard drive space is relatively cheap, but that doesn't mean you should take it for granted. It's still worthwhile to make sure that you're using your hard drive space wisely. It used to be that you would deal with vanishing storage space in one of three ways. You could implement user quotas to manage how much one person is allowed to save. You could add new drives to the server. Or you could compress a volume. This third volume has always been a last result because it kills performance. The process of packing up files and unpacking them again introduced a performance hit as well as a risk of corruption or loss. Now there's a new option, data deduplication. It allows you to save space as you store and access files without the risk or performance hit that comes from compression. The basic idea is this. Information is stored in blocks of varying size on your hard drive. With data deduplication, blocks are identified that are exactly the same. Redundant copies are removed and replaced with pointers to where that information can be stored only once. There are 3 different workloads where this can really make a difference. A general-purpose file server is likely to contain a bit of redundancy. Think about how many of your users store files made from the same template. There's a block of that file that is identical in all of the saved iterations of that document. A backup target is an even more likely candidate for deduplication. Think about last week's backup and this week's backup. How much is exactly the same? If that redundant information could be stored once, but accessed uniquely for each backup set, how much space could that save? The third workload is a virtual desktop deployment. If you're running your own desktop as a service environment, you have several remote desktop environments that are essentially copies of the same virtual hard drive. Think of the space saving if you didn't have to have all of that identical information saved multiple times. This is a feature that we can make available on NTFS and REFS volumes. Here we are back on the server we've been looking at in this chapter, and on our NTFS volume and our REFS volume, I've stored a folder called Music. Now this folder is identical in both locations. Here it is on the NTFS drive. It has 1,243 files. Here it is on the REFS drive. It is the same folder with the same amount of files. Each of these folders contains my music collection. Whole lot of files, none of them exist more than once within a folder. So let's see what deduplication can do for us. First, we need to add it, and data deduplication is a role. So let me go ahead and go to the server manager to go ahead and install that. Looks like the progress bar is done, so let me select to add roles and features. Move forward through this process that we've seen a few times. Now here we are. Inside the list of server roles, I need to find file and storage services. And you can see that one of these components has already been installed. Let me go ahead and expand that. Inside file and iSCSI services, if we look down the list just a little bit, there is data deduplication. Now there's nothing extra to be added, so let me go ahead and choose this and move forward. I'm just going to accept defaults and allow this installation to run. All right, it looks like our installation is complete. So let me go ahead and close this, and I'm going to close these folder properties as well. We don't need those anymore. Here in the Server Manager, I can go to the File and Storage Services tab. We can take a look at the different volumes on our server. Data deduplication is turned on at the volume level, not the folder level, so we need to manage this one volume at a time. From this pane, I can right-click on a volume and choose to configure data deduplication. There isn't a lot to configure here. From this top drop-down box, I can choose which of the 3 workload scenarios is best suited for my needs. This is a file server, so let me go ahead and choose that. If there were files that I wanted to exclude from the data deduplication, I could specify them by extension here, or I could add specific folders that would be removed from the deduplication. This Set Data Deduplication Schedule button would allow us to schedule this to happen at times when it won't disrupt normal workflows. Having this process run overnight is not a bad idea. Well, after I apply this and accept this and move on and do the same for the REFS volume, configure data deduplication for a general purpose file server, apply that and set OK. I have now enabled the service. Since I didn't schedule it, I need to go ahead and run a job manually. I'm going to go ahead and open PowerShell as an administrator. And from here, I'm going to run the command start dedupe job. And there are only a couple of parameters that I need to specify. The first is the type of deduplication job, which is optimization. And I need to specify which volume I want to remove duplicated data from. And there's one more parameter that I'm going to use just for this demonstration. I'm going to set the priority to high. You wouldn't do that on a production server during the workday because that will take away performance from other things this server might want to do. But in this demonstration, and in your test environments, if you're not doing anything else with the server, that will allow this to run more quickly. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit start, and that will take a while to run. So you would likely schedule this optimization during off hours, but you can take a look at the status at any time by running get dedupe status. And as time moves along, you can see how things are going, how much space has been saved, how many files have been condensed, and which volumes are involved in this savings. Data deduplication may not be the right fit for all volumes and all workloads. It can get in the way of how databases and other applications try to manage their own data, but it is preferred over compression or simply adding drives until you run out of bays.